What's going on, y'all? So listen, being Mary Jane, season 4, episode 18, feeling destined, baby. I'm feeling tired. Okay, I'm so glad that I was speaking with that. I'm so glad that we only got 2 more episodes left. I feel like this season has been draining and dragging, but okay. This episode really wasn't much. It was just dealing with the after effects of the aftermath of Patrick knowing that, Frank is his father. And come to find out, Frank didn't even know. He had suspicions, but he didn't know because Helen lied to him or didn't tell him the whole truth. And, he eventually went up there to see Patrick and they did have a little conversation. And, he's telling him that he was 20 years sober. They connected on that. And he was like, how can you forgive her so quickly and all this stuff? He said, I'm too old to hold grudges. And he knew the situation. It was like, your mom gave me an ultimatum to stop drinking or to let go. And he did what an alcoholic would do. He let go, ended things with her. And it was basically his fault that he was trying to say. And so, they connected on another level. He wanted Helen to come out there to New Orleans with him. And then gonna give her a couple of days at first. Then gonna say, I'm gonna give you a week. Because they had to go out there to New York. And I'm sitting here like, bruh. Are you really, you really want her to uproot her life really that quick? Okay, it just say, all right, I'm going to get on the next plane coming and I'm going to be out there in New Orleans with you right here, right now. No, okay, it don't work like that. And just because she leaving, well, she ain't leaving. Paul asked for a divorce. She didn't, deny him one. Because at this point, why don't you just go, you too old. She did have a conversation with Mary Jane later and was like, I just want to live my life. I want to do what you doing. You're living. I never got a chance to do that because she got pregnant. And the reason why she married Paul was because he was interested in her and she didn't want to be seen as an unwed mother, And that's how things were back then when she was younger. And people would look at them differently and outcast her and stuff like that. And Frank was already gone. So that's what that happened. And I was like, okay, that does make sense, but still, at least, Paul, was man enough because I don't know not too many men who would take responsibility for another man's child and then still be cool with that man or whatever. And, he loved Patrick like he was his own. So that was never the problem, which is why I don't understand why Patrick was. I can get the initial shock that I just found out that the man that I thought was my father all these years was not my father, but he loves you like he was your blood, He took care of you, he disciplined you, he did all that. He financially supported you in everything that you did. So I wouldn't be that upset. I'd be initially shocked and fucked up a little bit, but other than that, I can see his side, I did this, okay? I helped. But like he said last week, it wasn't his secret. It wasn't his truth to tell. It was his mom's, okay? And so they were supposed to go out there to New York and talk about the daddy sauce and all this shit. Child. At this point, Mary Jane finds out that they get a divorce. Carol like, bitch, I did not know shit was like this going on in your household. Then the dad come out there first. First the mom shows up, then the dad shows up. And they talk for a minute. But then when they get to the actual news place, the dad shows up trying to talk to Mary Jane before the mom get there. But Helen gets there too around the same time. And it's just all chaos. They trying to figure out if they going to go on there as a big happy family, put on stunts and shows. And at first it was working. But bitch, they had the mom and the daddy up in that green room and they were going off on each other, throwing cups and shit. I said, this is embarrassing, okay? And so it came to a point where only the daddy could come out there. And at first, I was like, oh, please don't have a breakdown on this stage because he was reminiscing about how he, was doing the sauce because it was a whole bunch of mouths to feed. So he had to do what he had to do to support the family and while the mama was out here, looking after the kids. And then he said, no, I did some sauces and they was mediocre at best. And then your mom was come out there and, put a little this and put a little that in there, making it better and all this stuff. So it was his way of kind of like humanizing her and, putting stuff away for the moment. Okay. And his apologies for a little bit. And eventually they was like, yeah, I'm going to talk to her. about this whole thing, and he apologizes for getting her so upset that she couldn't come out there. And she did basically tell him what was going on with Frank and all that stuff, and why that relationship went the way that it is, and apologized and said that she didn't choose Frank at all this time around, and was like, I was in love with you for the first 10 years. I admit I was pushing you away, trying to see if you would stay and would you budge and everything. I did that. But when we was having our last baby and everything, I was so in love with you, okay? I guess she grew to love him. And that's what it felt like. And it still felt like she was settling. And it seemed like she wanted to get back with him, but he was like, thank you for telling me this, and it don't change nothing. I still want a divorce. And she was like, oh, okay, bitch. I see you. And so, yeah, I noticed when Patrick went to Frank's room, and that girl in the background was like, come back to bed, Frank. I said, Frank, you a hoe. He said, now I know how I look, okay? It was like, your mama just called and said that she ain't coming to New Orleans with me. He was like, damn, I didn't even know that was on the table. Yeah, well, she just snatched it off, okay? But the little scene that Mary Jane had with her mom when she basically came back she was in her feelings, because her and Lee had already went through the process of making embryos, the egg and her egg, his sperm. They already made the embryos, had them frozen and everything. And they had an appointment, I guess, to implant them or whatever. And this is the wrong time because her and Lee ain't together no more. So she goes down there to the appointment. She telling the doctor it's a 50-50 chance that he may or may not show. She was like, let me stop you there. Because Lee already called and said that he ain't coming, okay? And he don't want the babies, okay? And there's only 3 choices that you have. Either give the 2 viable embryos to a couple who need it, or give them to medical, so they can do medical research on them, or dispose of them. And he already chose one, and that was to dispose of them. So, of course, Mary Jane feeling this hurt because she's been trying to have a kid forever. That's how her storyline really started. When she was fucking around with Ghost. Y'all remember when she was fucking around with Ghost? Yes. But, his lying ass. That motherfucker was cheating. That bitch is a cheater for real. What the fuck? Every goddamn role he is cheating. But anyway, Omari. So, she been on this thing of trying to have a kid, and it just didn't happen. And so, she said, well, we can dispose of them. She was crying. And, they was like, you got 2 eggs that's viable. We can still freeze them. And she said, okay, cool. We're going to do that. And, look at possible sperm donors. So because of all of this going on, and I'm going to be quite honest, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad for Mary Jane for her tears or anything that she was going through, because she puts herself in these situations, and she had to come to the realization that she sabotages her own relationships. And that's what we've been saying this whole season in these reviews. You sabotage your own relationships. And she came to that realization. She was like taking her anger and frustrations out on her mom, calling her mama out on her stuff, and was like, the reason why I do this is because of you and all this shit. And why was dad never enough and all this bullshit. It was like the same reason why Lee wasn't enough for you. Okay? I said, tell her, mama. They was both telling each other about themselves. And I'm glad they did have that talk, at the end when the mama left, and she told her basically, go live your life, okay? Live your life and don't take no for an answer to the person that you want to be with. Meaning, if you want to be with Justin, make him want to be with you or whatever. Because Justin was supposed to meet the family, but he got, caught up in Paris again on another story. And I just don't see that ending well, especially what's coming up next week. Orlando is out here trying to get this broadcasting deal, and then, Kara had this bright idea to put Garrett on as the producer and, float this stuff around so that she can get his job, and then everything is working out perfectly. He's not going to be the producer, but they giving him a promotion, so he getting higher up, and she still want Garrett's job. And now, that all of that's going on, what looks like on the next episode, it's going to be up between Kara and Justin to get the job, and Mary Jane is going to have to be the one that decides. And, like she said, either her boyfriend going to be mad at her or her friend going to be mad at her. Bitch, give it to your friend, okay? Your friend had your back through and through. Give it to Kara, okay? She had your back through and fucking through. Even when you bitched out on her and fucked her over, she still had your fucking back, bitch. All the time. Give it to her. It's a no-brainer. Fuck him. You can find another dick. You always do. Um, what else went on? Then, Mary Jane's still up in her feelings about this whole thing that's going on with her parents, and then she's still on this, the black women are, disrespected, and we the one that can make the change and all this stuff, and this is for her little primetime segment that she want to get going. And so Kara was like, we can get a bomb-ass guest to come on and talk about this. I see the vision. We can get like Beyonce. Ooh, I said Beyonce ain't doing no damn interviews with nobody, so you can scratch that off. Remember earlier in the season when Niecy said Solange retweeted her? No, something like Beyonce retweeted her, some shit like that. I said, bitch, you could have said Solange. Y'all got to stop throwing Beyonce stuff in these implausible situations, okay? If the bitch don't tweet, don't put her on here talking about something she tweeting on here, okay? She don't do that stuff. That shit was hilarious to me. She don't give interviews either, all right? So, the day she give a real interview, I'm going to be like, bitch, Roomy and Sir off the tit now? What's going on? Okay? Anyway, she's like, or that, or we can get Michelle Obama. So come to find out, she said she got Michelle Obama. We'll see. We'll see. Okay? No, girl. But, what else is happening in this episode? They got to fuck around and find out how they gonna tell Paul Jr. I said, bitch, I forgot all about Paul Jr. Ever since he stopped working with that white girl that was trying to basically buy him, he left and went out and did his own thing. Paul Jr. seemed like the only one. Paul Jr., when we first started with him, he was the one that really didn't have no directions as to where he was going. He always started these, businesses that never really went anywhere, but he always found a way to make it work for a moment of time. And it seemed like he had his father's spirit, because his father did the same thing until it stuck with that black airline thing or whatever. And then Mary Jane seems like her mom, because they can't get their relationships right. They sabotage shit. Stuff just ain't never good enough. And then Frank and Patrick, they the same with the addiction stuff. So this is very interesting. I said, come on, bring PJ back, okay? PJ probably gonna be the voice of reason for all you motherfuckers, okay? Y'all gonna be sitting there like, well, damn, baby, bro. Might have times changed. I'm like, yep, listen to him. But that was being Mary Jane. It was whatever. Y'all tell me how y'all feel about it, and I will see you guys later. Peace.